first story was posted 7 years ago by a Reddit user named Obi-Meme-Kenobi. This is one my grandma used to tell about one of her aunts. They lived in Laos during the Secret War. Her aunt started talking to one of the American soldiers and he started learning basic Hmong. After some time though, he stopped showing up. The basic consensus was that he was dead, but she kept waiting for him. When things got really bad and the bombs started dropping, they fled to the caves for shelter. One night, as everyone is sleeping, she hears a familiar voice. It's the soldier. He's mumbling in a very broken Hmong, "I'm back for you," over and over again. Her eyes are still closed until she feels something reach out and grab her shoulder and slowly move down to her hand. When it reached her hand, she said it wasn't a human hand at all, but like a large animal paw. She briefly opened her eyes to see a dark figure, clearly not human though, standing over her. Then she heard her aunt get up. Something was said, but she couldn't make out what it was. The figure then left and the aunt followed. This was still in the middle of the night, mind you. The aunt was never seen again. The story is that the dead soldier came back to take her with him, or something else imitated him in order to take her. Second story was posted 7 months ago by a Reddit user named ZekeMoss18. Years ago, I remember sneaking out of my friend's house at night to really do nothing but walk around the neighborhood and hide from car headlights. We were young and bored. There was a homeless camp that was down in some woods off the railroad tracks, not too far from his house. We had seen the trail and knew what was back there. One of the homeless guys that lived there was actually an old friend of my buddy's dad, and he had stopped over a few times, and my friend's dad let him shower there and everything. He could have worked if he wanted, but legit told us he just liked living off the grid. Just wanted to give you some backstory on the reason why we thought it would be cool and safe to go check it out at night. We were a bit nervous at first, thinking what if we get there and his dad's friend isn't there? So we were sneaking up on it. It was a longer walk than we thought. We got kind of close and saw there was a fire going, lighting up the woods a bit. We started sneaking closer, but the trail seemed to continue straight, while the camp set off the trail to the left. We got, I don't know, maybe 100 feet from the camp, about 30 meters, and we looked down the trail and saw a faint silhouette of what we thought was a person. The silhouette looked like it was coming from deeper in the woods towards the camp. We froze and ducked slightly to the side of the trail. I told my friend that I didn't like it and we should just sneak the hell out. He said that he had the same feeling. As I said, the fire at the camp was just enough to light the area well enough to see. We end up slowly creeping slightly off the trail, back to the railroad tracks. We got probably 30 or 40 so feet, 9 to 12 meters, and I told him I would rather just hit the trail and just slowly walk back because the bushes and trees and everything were hard to navigate, and I would rather be able to see something coming so we could book it out. We played football and were both pretty fast. We slide out of the brush and see the silhouette has gotten closer. However, moving further from the fire, the light was dimmer, but we could still make out someone or something was standing there, moving closer. My first thought was that maybe they saw us duck into the bushes and were coming to check, but it just felt off. My friend and I looked at each other and both mutually and silently decided to pick up the pace. Almost on cue, we both looked back and the silhouette was now booking it towards us, absolutely silent. No noise, just fast movement. We hightail it as fast as we can. Thankfully, the trail was wide so we weren't bumping into each other or anything. Neither of us looked back until we hit the railroad tracks, then hit the railroad track bridge and were on the other side. I looked back as I was slowing down, past the bridge and didn't see anyone. We got back to his house pretty fast and luckily that was the end of it. Third story was posted 2 years ago by a Reddit user named SuspiciousAD2970. My mom moved us into a new home. She was in the living room trying to hook the cable up, and I was in her room roughly 10 feet away. She kept asking me to turn the TV on to see if it connected, but every time I turned it on, it was loud and static. When I turned the TV off after another unsuccessful attempt, there was a large, solid black human-like figure standing behind me in the reflection of the TV. I was facing the only entrance, and I was 100% alone in that room. It was the middle of the day, but all our curtains were closed, so it wasn't a reflection from outside. I ran like hell, and when I told my mom, she didn't believe me. My brother and I consistently had experiences over the many years we lived there. Every single night, you would hear and feel someone running back and forth down the hallway. My brother and I were across the hall from each other, but we were on the opposite side of the house from my mom behind a closed door with our only pet, a dog, rest in peace. So many nights we'd both look out our doors at the same time to see if it was the other person, but nothing. We learned to live with it as it never stopped. Another time in broad daylight, I watched my dog walk into a room we used as storage in the same hallway. I laughed and went down the hall to get him out, saying something like, "Silly boy, you can't go in there." But when I turned into the room, it was empty. I was super weirded out because I watched my entire dog walk in. When I got back down the hallway, I then saw my dog through our glass door, fast asleep on the patio. There was no exit point from that room except a window that wouldn't really open, so it stayed closed and locked. I have so many other stories, but when my brother and I moved out, my mom finally agreed the house was haunted. She woke up in her room to a dark human-like figure standing over her. When she turned the lamp on her light stand on, it was gone.